What's up, Warriors fans? It's your man Max here for Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you hear, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, before we get started into the more, I guess, centric news, I want to give a quick shout out to Marco Belinelli as he recently announced his retirement from professional basketball. Now, Belinelli was a first round pick with the Warriors in 2007 and was the second Italian player selected in the first round in the last 25 years. It started with Andrea Bargnani being drafted number one overall in 2006, Bellinelli being drafted 18th overall in 2007, and then what was it? It was Danilo Gallinari being drafted, I believe it was 6th or 8th overall in 2008 by the Knicks. And they really started the trend of basketball players from Italy being a thing. And the NBA and scouts, and as well as young college or young high school and college players being more interested in what basketball has to offer and over in Italy. If I remember correctly, those three players getting selected sort of influenced Brandon Jennings on going to L'Automatica Roma instead of University of Arizona for his lone one and done year because of the level of competition over in the EuroLeague versus the level of competition in the Pac-10. Now, Bellinelli, while his career was short-lived with the Warriors, and he didn't get the chance to pair up with Steph as he was traded a few days after Steph was drafted, I believe they would have been a great duo had he stayed with the team a little more, as Bellinelli was really a three-point specialist. He wasn't so much a 3-and-D type of player the way Klay Thompson was, but he still could hit from downtown. I believe his best year was the year he won the title with the Spurs in 13-14. He shot over 43% from deep, and I think had the Warriors kept him instead of trading him to Toronto, he would have been a valuable piece with the Warriors during their initial dynasty run. I mean, thinking about it, yeah. Okay, he would have been during the Warriors run, he would have been in his 7th year. So he would have gone through his initial contract and then gone through his second contract. But I believe he would have been a valuable piece off the bench that they could have kept cheaply. But, it is what it is. He still had an amazing career. And he's still, as the saying goes, oh, he's a Warrior lifer. And I still remember him just nailing it from downtown against the Heat in 2014 during the finals and being that guy that they just dish it to, automatic bucket from three. And I love that. I love that he turned what would have been a short career, I mean, maybe 5 or 6 years if things didn't go his way and he didn't become a specialist, into a full-blown, I believe, 13-year career within the NBA. Yes, he started with the Warriors, moved on to Toronto. From Toronto, he went to New Orleans, then went to the Spurs where he won his title, bounced around between the Hawks, the Bulls, the Sixers before returning to San Antonio to wrap it up in 2020, and then going back over to Europe to finish his career. But as the thing goes, he had an amazing career. Hats off to him, and I wish him the best in the next part of his career after basketball. And I hope he takes some time to relax, go to the beach, and kick his feet up over in the Amalfi Coast, as that is a beautiful Italian beach. And again, all the best to Marco in your next endeavors. Now to get on to the really interesting news that's been coming out lately. And this is the prop bets, as the NBA Players Association, as well as the NBA itself, is seeking to limit it. Not only that, we've heard on numerous occasions from Draymond on his podcast how he talks about all the vitriol that he gets for himself as well as his teammates for not hitting certain prop bets. And this goes from vitriol at the stadium, fans cursing him out and just getting aggressive, which kind of leads to his acting out on the court and him being a bit of a problematic player. Yes, he is very intense and passionate, but I think the hatred from the fans has something to do with it. As if you've heard Michael Porter Jr.'s recent run around with him going on a podcast tour, he's talked about a bunch of different things, but he's also talked about how gambling has really affected the league as a whole. And again, Draymond has said the same thing. And this goes on to something I've been talking about ever since gambling was legalized in all 50 states. It's become a states' right issue. And that is that the NBA being in bed with the casinos is going to come back to bite them. And so far, they've been on top of it with Jonte Porter and just getting him banned. Now he's going to federal prison for a while. But it's only going to make things worse for the NBA as well as the players within the league being in bed with the casinos. Because we think about it. We go around the league right now. Thankfully, the Warriors don't have any owners that are in bed or involved directly with a casino, but there are other owners out there that do have direct ties to a casino. Specifically, Tim Ferretta over with the Houston Rockets. And the big reason I like to talk about them is Tim Ferretta, he's the owner of the Golden Nugget Casino. And who knows, say he has a bad financial year, the best way to quickly make up on that is to shave points to make that money back through Golden Nuggets. Say they're offering certain Rockets deals on bets where it's like, oh, bonus bets, stuff like that. And it becomes even more of a problem because they're going to start shaving points. Next thing you know, Ferretta could get the coach to help with shaving points. But next thing you know, they're in bed. There's another huge scandal that hits the NBA that's as bad as the Black Sox scandal in 1919. And side note, the reason that the commissioner's position exists is because of that Black Sox scandal where they threw the World Series. That's the only reason that the commissioner position exists. And that started in baseball, then football, and then the NBA. So there is a reason that the league or all sports leagues were never in bed with casinos, because that just leads to major problems. It could lead to a federal crackdown on both casino and sports league relations, and it could create a domino effect moving forward. Now, them completely eliminating prop bets isn't likely to happen, as the prop bets are a major source of income for the casinos, as a lot of people don't really bet the over and under anymore, or the or even the money line or the spread. They go with prop bets. As we've all seen, one of the most popular prop bets this summer is Angel Reese missing her first shot in her WNBA games, and there's been a streak going on over and over and over again. And then there's that other prop bet where a certain adult toy has been thrown onto the NBA or the WNBA court that constantly hits over and over again. Those prop bets are becoming problematic because it's really what's the word? It's promoting bad behavior and just promoting just hatred amongst the players, or hatred from the fans amongst the players. And one other thing that I want to say before we move on is I remember there's a reel on TikTok or Instagram that was going around when Buddy Hield, when he was with the Sixers, talks to a fan about helping him with his prop bet. And he helps him with his prop bet. And then another one is when Jimmy Butler was part of the Heat. A fan's like, yo, Jimmy, I need X and X and X to hit this prop bet. Jimmy's like, yo, screw you, guy. I don't care about your bets. But the amount of it's creating vitriol between the players and the fans, and that's never going to be good. So the NBA at least hitting this hard to start is a good step forward, because it's going to help them avoid any federal investigations that may come through should teams like the Rockets or any other teams where the owners are involved with casinos may decide to shave points to win money for themselves and really save their, cover up their losses in the long term. So I'm glad the NBA is really hitting on that, and it's going to help the Warriors because it's going to create less vitriol for the team, hopefully less death threats, less horrible DMs that they get on Instagrams and the likes of that. Now, back to the important part of Jonathan Kuminga. Now, I've been thinking a lot. It's just looking more and more like he's going to accept his qualifying offer. Now, we've been told by the media that should he accept the qualifying offer, odds are the Warriors are going to lose him for nothing. But the more I think about that, the more I really realize that they're not going to lose him for nothing. Regardless if they don't sign and trade him this year, they could still sign and trade him next year, as the Warriors do have that advantage of offering that fifth year. And I was thinking back, it's like, when has that ever happened? And one of my favorite stories that this has happened was David Lee in 2010. If you may or may not remember, David Lee, he was the Knicks' great white hope. And by that, I mean he was the only good guy that was really coming out and doing something. He was a double-double machine. The Knicks kept him for his 4-year contract. Couldn't really work out an extension in '09 because they were waiting to get LeBron in 2010. Signs his qualifying offer, becomes an all-star that year, and then goes out, gets signs an offer sheet with the or sign wants to sign with the Warriors, but still wants that extra year. Knicks end up re-signing and trading him to the Warriors, giving him that extra 5th year, which was very important. Or no, it was a 6-year. Yeah, it was a 6-year deal since the new CBA hadn't come into effect yet. So he got that extra year that he couldn't have gotten initially. And I think that's going to play into effect if the Warriors have him sign his qualifying offer. They're going to find a trade for him next year if he really bets on himself, which is going to be great for Kuminga and great for the Warriors, because if he does bet on himself and wins, the Warriors can really get something for him, because he's going to be a potential franchise star and going to be an important part of this Warriors team moving forward. And if he just doesn't want to be with the Warriors past this season, the Warriors can at least do right by him, trade him to a team that wants to invest in him, as well as give him that extra year, which is essential for any free agent, because you want that job security. That job security is more important than anything. I mean, we saw what Scottie Pippen did back in the early 90s. He wanted that job security because you never know what's going to happen in the NBA, even though it cost him a decent amount of money in the 90s, but allowed them to win 6 titles. So it's not the end of the world if Kuminga signs the qualifying offer, but it would be nice to get this situation resolved sooner rather than later. Now, bottom line is limiting prop bets and signing and trading Kuminga isn't the worst thing to happen, especially for the Warriors and especially for the league as a whole. Now, the limiting prop bets, it's going to take some convincing for the casinos to say, hey, we don't want to do this, and it might take the NBA Players Association as well as the NBA itself to play hardball with these casinos, because if they lose those deals, say, hey, we're pulling back we're ending our relationship with FanDuel, we're entering our relationship with Caesars, DraftKings, so on and so forth, or any other, or ESPN Bets, which has a very tight relationship with the entire NBA, especially with a new TV deal. I could definitely see them using that as a way to really enforce the lesser prop bets with like the betting apps like FanDuel, DraftKings, like Caesars Sportsbooks, MGM, even the likes of ESPN Bets, even though ESPN Bets only has 2.5% of the market, which I really think is crazy overall, that such a major news organization has only 2.5% of the market. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, I mean, you look at their shows, the people that are on their betting shows, they don't strike me as trustworthy sources for betting. Like if I want betting advice, I want somebody who looks like a degenerate gambler, not a beautiful blonde that's telling me her picks, or even Stephen A. Smith telling me their picks, or any other, or Kendrick Perkins or any of them telling me their picks. They're not gamblers. I don't trust their picks. They're just I don't like that. Whereas when it was ESPN Bets, was Barstool Sportsbook, all right, there are a lot of guys on there that are at least look like degenerate gamblers, and I'd trust their way of betting versus guys who are on the news reporting and doing talking head stuff, telling me bets. I remember there was an old show on FS1 where you got a beautiful brunette as the host, and then it's like 4 guys that look like professional gamblers, or at least serious gamblers, that would give gambling advice and talk about different things. It was like Around the Horn, but for sports betting. And it was a really great show. I don't remember the exact name of it, but that's the kind of stuff. Those are the kind of people you trust with the sports betting, people who look like professional gamblers. Those guys know what they're doing. They know how to play the odds, and so on and so forth. But that's beside the point, because limiting sports bets is going to be important. NBA needs to put pressure on the casinos with threatening to end their partnerships, or if they don't limit those prop bets. Now with Kuminga, again, like I said before, it is a great idea to trade him now, but it isn't the worst idea to let him sign his qualifying offer, because at least we know he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder, and we could still get something back for him next summer. Now, That may be not a lot, but it's still something. It's going to be better than what we could get right now, as a lot of teams aren't offering a lot for him. And it's going to allow the Warriors to show Kuminga how they plan to integrate him into the offense and become that number 3 option next to Jimmy Butler. I mean, we see what Draymond's doing. He's not a part of the offense. He's just non-existent on that side of the ball. But he's going to be the facilitator that allows Kuminga and Jimmy to get their buckets. And I think that's going to be important moving forward. Now, I don't want to see him leave for nothing, but I do see him leaving for something. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you think the NBA shouldn't limit the prop bets, feel free to comment below. Or if you have other trade ideas for the future, say next summer for Jonathan Kuminga, feel free to comment that below too. And as always, go Dubs.